Like and subscribe might be a simple click for you, but it will lead to a transformational change of our channel. Support us to achieve 5 million subscribers by year 2028. In an African kingdom, the people of Dahomey reside. A new king, Gizo, young and courageous, has just ascended the throne. Dahomey's foe, the Oyo Empire, has allied with the Mahi people to raid Dahomey and sell its inhabitants to European slavers. While the Oyo Empire possesses guns and horses, Dahomey boasts an elite force of female warriors, the Agoji, also known as the King's Guard, led by General Naniska to protect their land. Thus, the story unfolds. The movie opens with Mahi soldiers gathered around a bonfire. They suddenly hear strange noises but initially dismiss them as birds. Then, a group of warrior women emerges from the fields and attacks them. The women slaughter the men and liberate the captives. Naniska, revered as Miganon by her people, notices a horseshoe and suspects Oyo soldiers' involvement with the Mahi. Next, we are transported to the picturesque kingdom of Dahomey. A young girl, Nawi, and her friend are in the marketplace when a distant sound sends everyone running with excitement. The Agoji have returned with captives. The people bow as they pass, for it is forbidden to look upon them. Despite their victory, Naniska appears worried and requests an audience with the king. Nawi returns home to a shocking revelation: her parents have sold her to an elderly man for marriage. When she doesn't respond to the man's question, he becomes violent, prompting her to push him down. He angrily leaves. Enraged, Nawi's father drags her to the palace and offers her to the king. Izagi, one of the Agoji, takes her in. Nawi is awestruck by the sight of women training. Meanwhile, Oyo soldiers visit the Mahi village that the Agoji raided. Their general, Ade Oba, is infuriated. King Gizo of Dahomey convenes with his council, greeting his wives as he passes. Naniska, as the king's guard, awaits him. One of the wives, Shantae, envies Naniska's boldness in approaching the king in her war attire, but the king's attendant quickly puts her in her place. In the council, the king presents the horseshoe Naniska found and decides to stop paying tribute to the Oyo Empire, seeking emancipation for his people, especially since the Oyo now dine with their enemies. Migan, a council member, advises against it, fearing war. He suggests maintaining the current tribute for peace and prosperity. Naniska believes the Agoji can defend Dahomey against the Oyo and proposes selling gold and palm oil instead of captives. Despite opposition, the king agrees to consider it if Naniska can prove it feasible to produce oil. In the next scene, new recruits are briefed on their requirements and given a final chance to back out. While some women leave, Nawi feels she has found her place. While exploring, Izagi tries to instill some fear in Nawi to earn her respect. She orders her to bathe, and Nawi leaves. Nawi encounters Naniska in the bath, and they talk. She reveals she is only 19 but determined to become a soldier. Naniska warns that obstinate girls like her often fail. Training begins, and the girls are given ropes. Nawi mutters that a rope is not a weapon. Hearing this, Naniska hands her a sword and asks her to chop off a dummy's head. Nawi tries and fails. Naniska then chops the head off and tells her to return to the ropes, demonstrating her authority. At night, Izagi advises Nawi again. Training continues, and Nawi struggles to keep up. The Agoji hold a contest with the men to see who can withstand pain better, and the Agoji win. Nawi and her new friends, Fum and Ode, get mischievous during training, leading to punishment. Nawi takes the blame. Naniska is intrigued by Nawi's cunning but angered by her sharp tongue, nearly expelling her from the Agoji. Izagi later warns Nawi to be careful around Naniska, hinting that she could become the first woman king in 1,000 years. Amenza visits Naniska to calm her after a disturbing dream. She shares her dream, and Amenza helps interpret it. Later, Naniska hears a noise while passing by and finds Nawi practicing at night. The next day, the Dahomey people gather to celebrate but are interrupted by Oyo soldiers led by General Oba, who is no stranger to Naniska. She is shocked and furious, though Oba does not recognize her. They have come for the tribute. The Oyo soldiers complain the tribute is insufficient and demand 40 Agoji warriors or they will close the port to Dahomey. Though the port belongs to Dahomey, the king agrees to give 20 Agoji to avoid trouble. Oba leaves some men behind to feast. Naniska selects the 20 Agoji, including Nawi. Later, Amenza finds Naniska distressed. It seems the general assaulted her long ago, leaving deep scars. At the port of Ouida, a new merchant arrives from Brazil, displeased with the slavery. The Agoji arrive, and the general thinks they bring the tribute, but instead, they offer the heads of the men left in Dahomey. They deliver a message from the king, he bows to no one. After their display, they flee, but Naniska stays to fight the general. Nawi, seeing this, stays to help. She manages to knock down the general, and they both escape as Oyo soldiers pursue them. The Europeans do not intervene. Naniska and Nawi jump into the water, where their sisters await. Once ashore, Naniska scolds Nawi for not following the plan, despite what one might expect to be gratitude. She warns her never to act alone, the Agoji always work together. Knowing Nawi, she's not going to stay quiet, so she tries to defend her actions, but Izagi stops her. Amenza approaches Naniska quietly and says she's the one who didn't follow the plan, but Naniska responds that her plan was to take the general's head. Back at the palace, Shantae tries to sweet-talk Naniska, suggesting they share the same interests in the kingdom, but Naniska sees through her deceit. Naniska's plan to produce oil seems to be progressing well as she takes the king through the production site. Nawi visits a waterfall to sharpen her sword. The new merchant in town, out for a bath, stops at the waterfall. Nawi takes his clothes and tells him to return to Wida naked like the slaves he trades. He explains he's part Dahomey, his father is white and his mother is Dahamean. He was on his way there when he stopped for a bath. Nawi returns the man's clothes, and he introduces himself as Malik. Nawi is intrigued by the chain on his neck, but she is startled and runs away when Malik's partner approaches. They visit the palace and present King Giza with gifts. He welcomes them, especially Malik, upon hearing he is part Dahomey. King Gizo invites them to join him as the Agoji take their final test. The challenge begins, and Nawi is relentless. She makes it through the bush of thorns but goes back for her friend who is stuck. She still manages to catch up and becomes the victor. The king and everyone are impressed with her performance, and Gizo warmly welcomes her to the king's guard. Izagi helps Nawi remove the thorns from her body and asks why she went back for fun. Nawi responds that she wants her friend to stay. Naniska joins them and, while checking the scars on Nawi's body, notices a mark on her back. Nawi says it has been there since her father chose her from an orphanage. Naniska storms off, and Amenza follows to find out what happened. Naniska reveals she had a child and gave her to Amenza, calling it a burden. Amenza gave the child to a missionary. She reassures Naniska that there's no way the child could be Nawi. The merchant tries to reason with King Gizo about his decision to stop slave trading after Shantae briefs him on the palm oil production. Meanwhile, Malik explores the palace. Nawi sees him and approaches. Malik tells her to meet him outside the palace walls after dark. That night, the girls take their blood oath as full initiation into the Agoji. Izagi, who has grown fond of Nawi, warns her about Malik, saying love makes one weak and she shouldn't give her power away. Later, Nawi sneaks out to meet Malik. They talk, and he informs her that General Oba is plotting something big for Dahomey. Nawi rushes to tell Naniska but gives Malik a sacred stone and takes his sword to remember him by. Nawi tells Naniska what she heard, but Naniska reprimands her for seeing a man and warns her not to think she's too special to be kicked out of the Agoji. Nawi protests that she has proven herself and would never be captured. Naniska reveals she was captured and raped every night by Oyo soldiers but escaped with Amenza. She was pregnant and put a shark tooth in her child's arm before giving her away. Nawi insists she can't be that child, but when the scar is opened, they find the shark tooth. Shocked, Nawi walks away. The next day, the Agoji spot Oyo soldiers approaching, with just 2 days before they reach Dahomey. Naniska devises a plan to use Nawi's explosive trick from training. The women prepare for battle and decide to strike first. In the early hours, they attack the enemy camp, lighting it up like fireworks. The general charges with his men, leading to a fierce battle. Nawi fights bravely but is thrown into a ditch and knocked unconscious. Naniska searches for Oba, who orders a retreat after seeing his men being slaughtered. The Agoji dominate but suffer some losses. The Oyo soldiers capture some injured Agoji, including Fum and Nawi. On the way to Wida, Nawi tells Fum to jump off the cart and save herself. She and another Agoji are taken to be sold to traders. Izagi, brought in with a broken arm, tells them to slit their throats rather than be slaves, but Nawi refuses to give up. Fum escapes and informs the others. The king sends for Naniska and Amenza. He gathers his wives to announce that he has chosen Naniska to be the woman king, much to Shantae's displeasure. Naniska is honored but asks the king's permission to rescue the captives. The king refuses, saying they sacrificed for the greater good, and she must stay and fulfill her duty. The next day, Nawi and her sisters are auctioned to the Europeans. They have an escape plan, which almost fails until Malik protests, creating the perfect distraction. The girls run, but Nawi is captured. Izagi returns for her but is shot. Before dying, she teases Nawi one last time. Oba offers Nawi to Malik for a price. Naniska decides to rescue her daughter, despite Amenza's attempt to stop her. The next day, she finds Amenza, Migan, and a few Agoji following her. Malik buys Nawi and locks her in a room to protect her from the Europeans, who want to punish her for killing one of their men. He gives her a key for her escape and suggests she come with him to England. The king discovers that part of his council has departed despite his orders. His wife Shantae advises him not to cancel the feast he prepared, as it would make him appear weak. Instead, she suggests naming another woman king. While the Europeans party at night, the Agoji stealthily infiltrate their camp. One of the prisoners informs them of Izagi's death and Nawi's impending trade. Enraged by the news, Naniska orders her warriors to burn the place down, taking no prisoners. The Agoji attack mercilessly. Malik rushes to Nawi, urging her to escape with him, but she insists on helping her sisters. He gives her a change of clothes and tells her he'll be waiting on the beach in case she changes her mind. Naniska searches for Oba, while Amenza fights with a fury. Migan sets the camps on fire. Malik's friend attempts to flee with a few slaves, but Malik, unable to stand it, releases the slaves, who then beat his friend to death. Naniska finds Oba and, showing no mercy, kills him. As she revels in the victory, a European soldier almost shoots her, but Nawi kills him instead. Nawi fights off other men, and the Agoji celebrate their triumph. As they march back, Malik waits for Nawi at the beach. He sees her with her sisters, and she nods at him before following her comrades. Back in Dahomey, the feast begins. Shantae adorns herself, expecting to take the honor meant for Naniska. The Agoji return, and the people cheer for them, especially chanting Naniska's name. Shantae feels humiliated. Naniska surrenders her sword to the king and offers to step down for disobeying his orders. King Gizo, after a heartfelt speech to his people, bestows upon Naniska the title of Woman King to rule the land alongside him, in accordance with their ancient customs. The whole kingdom celebrates as she takes her seat next to the king. Finally, it's time for mother and daughter to have a heart-to-heart conversation. Nawi, seeing the pain her existence has caused her mother, apologizes. Naniska also expresses her regret for giving her away. In the next scene, Nawi asks her mother for a dance, and the two make peace. Make sure to subscribe and hit the notification button so that you don't miss any of our video updates.